Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Mike Bass back again with another forecast update for you for this July the 10th, 2023. I'm hoping everybody's having a great Monday out there so far. Hope everybody has a great Monday afternoon. Hope everybody continues to stay safe and well, and also enjoy the weather because it's the only weather you got. Okay, in today's video, we'll talk about the outlooks. You can see in the on the screen here the day 1, 2, and 3 outlook. As you can see, they have added a slight risk, an enhanced risk for this afternoon over in portions of Kansas and also Nebraska there as well. We'll talk about that toward the end of this video. Also, we're going to take a look at the weather radar. Also, we're going to take a look at the watches, warning, and advisory for your location. Also, we're going to take a look at the Storm Prediction Center outlook, like I said, for those 3 days there, today, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And also, we're going to take a look at the 7-day rainfall total toward the end of this video as well, so that way you get a chance to see what the precipitation looked like across the nation for your location. Okay, if you like these daily uploads, consider subscribing. Smash that subscribe button and you're in. Also like these videos, also share these videos on social media, and that way more people can get a chance to see my videos and forecast and get more subscribers like that. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get the show on the road here, folks, and we're going to go ahead and dive on into the forecast now. Alright, as you can see, here's the Storm Prediction Center convective outlooks. The day 1, as you can see, we got a marginal risk from Florida all the way to Montana, also from Texas all the way into portions of the Great Lakes region, also a little bit in the Northeast. Also on Tuesday, we got a little bit over northern Florida, northern central Florida, all the way back into eastern Texas. Also again up here in portions of Montana, all the way back into portions of Michigan. Slight risk area currently over Iowa and Nebraska as well. Day 3, currently you can see we got marginal risk extended from Maine all the way down to the Gulf Coast region, almost to northern Mississippi, northeast Arkansas, and also over towards South and North Dakota, also back over toward Minnesota, and the slight risk area pretty much over Missouri, over toward Illinois, and also back towards Iowa there as well. Currently day 4, they do not have nothing in effect as of yet, but I do expect them to keep adding it every day. There will be a marginal risk, slight risk, enhanced risk for the next, probably the next 8 days according to this here. But like I say, they just put predictability too low at this time. Alright, well, let's move on to the weather radar now across the nation. As you can see here, we got widespread showers and storms over here in portions of southeast Canada, Maine through Vermont, New Hampshire, through New York State, all the way down to portion of Boston area, off into the coastal water. We got more widespread showers and storms down here in eastern North Carolina through South Carolina, down into eastern Georgia, all the way down into northern Florida to the Gulf of Mexico there as well. Scattered activity just north of the Bahamas there, a little bit of scattered activity across Cuba. Puerto Rico Island, you look good. Southern Florida looks good. Scattered activity over Louisiana. Also into Texas, more scattered activity over New Mexico towards Montana. A little bit more widespread showers over portions of Washington State. Scattered activity over Idaho. We got some widespread showers right here in this vicinity of Canada. Scattered activity central and southwest Canada. Alright, Guam radar. Currently everything's to your west, so you look good for today. We got across Alaska, central and southern Alaska, got some rain showers there. And across the Hawaiian chain island, got a few scattered showers there as well. Alright, watches, warning, and advisory map for your location across the nation. Alrighty, had to get some water there, folks. But anyway, we got some flood watches, flood warnings, flash flood warnings in effect up here from Maine all the way into New York State. Also, we got some flood advisory down here in portions of South Carolina. Also over here in Michigan, we got some air quality alerts on the east side of Michigan, west side of Michigan there as well. Coastal marine warnings for strong thunderstorms along coastal areas of South Carolina, Georgia, east coast of Florida, Big Bend area of Florida, the panhandle of Florida there as well. Heat advisory is also in effect for southern Florida, central and southern Texas, western Texas, southern New Mexico. Some flood warnings also in effect for area rivers here in Oklahoma. Some flooding going on in North Texas and western Oklahoma with some heavier showers and storms. Flood warning is also in effect for portions of South Dakota. Got flood watches for northern portions of Washington State. Some red flag warning is also in effect for much of Washington State, northern Oregon. Also, we got excessive heat watches in effect for portions of California, portion of Nevada, also central and southern California, and also portion of Arizona as well. Excessive heat warnings also in effect for western Arizona, southern California, southern Nevada. Heat advisory there as well for southern California, and some flash flood advisories for portions of California. Those river flood warnings still continue there in western Nevada. Alright, flood watches, also flood warnings also in effect for northern Alaska, central and southern Hawaii and Chain Island. Got some gale warnings there. North side looks a-okay. Alright, Storm Prediction Center time. You can see, this is the day's outlook. This is what I was talking about earlier in the broadcast. General thunderstorm from Maine down into Pennsylvania. There's that marginal risk over portions of the northeastern United States. Also, we got general thunderstorm from the Outer Banks of North Carolina through South Carolina, all the way back into portion of Michigan, extending from northern Wisconsin all the way back over to Washington State and back into Nevada. Not Nevada, but New Mexico and Arizona. Alright, my computer's refreshing, so we're gonna get back in some information here. Alright, we got severe marginal risk for central and northern Florida, southern Georgia, all the way back into Texas, all the way to the Great Lakes region, all the way back over to Montana. Slight risk extending from the panhandle of Texas all the way into portions of southeast Minnesota, Wisconsin, and portions of the Great Lakes region. Alright, if you're in the enhanced risk today, this includes Hays, Kansas, Great Bend, Kansas, and Lexington, Nebraska. If you live in Omaha, Nebraska, Minneapolis, Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota, Lincoln, Nebraska, Lubbock, Texas, you're under a slight risk for severe weather. And if you're in a marginal risk, this includes Dallas, Texas, Jacksonville, Florida, Fort Worth, Texas, Boston, Massachusetts, and Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Alright, now let's take a look at the tornado probability. We have a 2% risk in Wisconsin and Minnesota. If you're in the Minneapolis, Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota, Green Bay, Wisconsin, Rochester, Minnesota, and Bloomington, Minnesota, that's where that 2% risk for a tornado is at for today. Wind probability, we have a 5% in the brown. This is the damaging winds. 5% in brown over here in Montana. Also up here in portions of Boston, Connecticut, Massachusetts area. Also down into Florida, back to Texas, all the way to the Great Lakes. 15% from the Great Lakes to Texas, and the 15%, 30% over pretty much over Nebraska and Kansas. And that's where the significant severe weather will be. And this includes the significant severe weather and the 30% risk. This includes North Platte, Nebraska, Hays, Kansas, and Lexington, Nebraska. And if you're in the 15% risk, this includes Omaha, Nebraska, Minneapolis, Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota, Lincoln, Nebraska, and Lubbock, Texas. And if you live in Dallas, Texas, Jacksonville, Florida, Fort Worth, Texas, Boston, Massachusetts, Oklahoma City, you're under a 5% risk for damaging winds. Alright, hail probability for today, 5% for brown, 15 in the yellow, and the significant severe for hail would be over 2 inches in diameter. This includes Sioux City, Iowa, Grand Rapids, Grand Island, Nebraska, Canary, Nebraska, North Platte, Nebraska, North Fort, Nebraska. That would be the significant area for hail over 2 inches in diameter. And if you're in the 15% risk, this includes Minneapolis, Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota, Amarillo, Texas, Sioux Falls City, South Dakota, and Green Bay, Wisconsin. And if you live in Lincoln, Nebraska, Madison, Wisconsin, Lubbock, Texas, Billings, Montana, and Appleton, Wisconsin, you're under a 5% risk for large hail. Alright, let's move on to day number 2. Okay, we still have general thunderstorm from Maine all the way back to Montana, also North Dakota. Slight risk, marginal risk, extended from eastern Montana all the way into the Great Lakes region, including Michigan. Slight risk extended from Iowa all the way back into North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska. General thunderstorm from Kansas through Missouri all the way down into uh, uh, Arizona, New Mexico, Cape Cod, and also into Texas, also over here to the Florida Panhandle and the Florida Keys and southern Georgia, all the way up into Maine there. Marginal risk down here along the Gulf Coast, all the way into Texas. All right, if you live in Omaha, Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska, Del Mar, Iowa, Sioux City, Iowa, Council Bluff, Iowa, slight risk for severe weather on your Tuesday. If you live in Chicago, Illinois, Dallas, Texas, Detroit, Michigan, Fort Worth, Texas, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, you're under a marginal risk for severe weather on Tuesday. The tornado probability is 2%, pretty much Nebraska all the way into Iowa. And if you live in that area, this is Omaha, Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska, Council Bluff, Iowa, Bellevue, Nebraska, and Grand Island, Nebraska, for the 2% risk for a tornado. Alright, winds 5% in the Brown, from Michigan back to Montana, from Texas all the way down to the Florida Panhandle, 15% in Iowa, all the way back into South Dakota and Nebraska. Alright, and if you in the yellow 15% area, this is Omaha, Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska, Del Mar, Iowa, Sioux City, Iowa, Council Bluff, Iowa. And if you're in the Chicago, Illinois, Dallas, Texas, Detroit, Michigan, Fort Worth, Texas, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 5% risk for damaging winds. The hail probability, pretty much same areas. East Texas, also up here in portions of Michigan, back into portions of Montana, and also over here at the 15%, the significant severe weather, pretty much in Iowa, back to portions of South Dakota. Alright, the significant severe area for large hail will be Lincoln, Nebraska, Grand Island, Nebraska, Canary, Nebraska, Norfolk, Nebraska, and also Hastings, Nebraska. Alright, 15%, Omaha, Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska, Del Mar, Iowa, Sioux City, Iowa, and Council Bluff, Iowa. And if you live in Chicago, Illinois, Dallas, Texas, Detroit, Michigan, Fort Worth, Texas, and Milwaukee, Wisconsin, you're under a 5% risk for large hail on your Tuesday. Let's move on to Wednesday forecast now. Alright, as you can see, we got marginal risk in it from Maine all the way down to Mississippi, Arkansas, all the way back to Nebraska, and also South Dakota and southern portions of Minnesota. General thunderstorms in the lighter green extended from Washington State all the way to northern Minnesota, to northern Wisconsin, down to Texas, through the Carolinas, Florida Keys, also down to Louisiana, and all the way back into the Pennsylvania region and also New York area. Alright, the slight risk area extended from Illinois, pretty much back over Missouri, Iowa, and also into portions of Nebraska and Kansas as well. Alright, if you live in Kansas City, Missouri, Omaha, Nebraska, St. Louis, Missouri, Del Mar, Iowa, Overland Park, Kansas, slight risk for severe weather on your Wednesday. If you live in Chicago, Illinois, Detroit, Michigan, Indianapolis, Indiana, Memphis, Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, you're under a marginal risk for severe weather on Wednesday. Probability, same areas what I just called out. 5% in the brown, 15% in the yellow. That's pretty much 15% from Kansas City, Missouri, all the way to Overland Park, Kansas. 5% Chicago, Illinois, all the way to Nashville, Tennessee, and surrounding areas for severe weather Wednesday. Alright, here's a look at the rainfall total across the lower 48 over the next 7 days. Heavy precipitation over the northeastern United States from Pennsylvania all the way to southeast Canada, southern Canada as well. Also off the Atlantic waters there, coastal waters. Also down in the Gulf of Mexico, and also over in portions of Missouri, Illinois, also in the Tennessee and Kentucky areas as well. Also over here in portions of Mexico as well, up towards portions of southeastern Arizona. Alright, also over southwest Canada as well. But in the green, the lighter amount, the lighter blues, that's lighter amounts. That's generally from about half inch to maybe 1 point. Lighter blue and a lighter green is less than about from 1/4 to 0 inches of rain. So that's pretty much, and then the 0 inches is pretty much just in the area with no precipitation there. Over the west coast, southwest, and portions of southern Texas and northern Mexico as well, with only isolated amounts here and there. Alright, well, hope everybody enjoyed this video. Hope everybody continue to stay safe and well. Enjoy the weather because it's the only weather you got. Like these videos, share these videos, consider subscribing, and we'll catch you back in the next one.